If you've ever wondered in your head, can I possibly do this, or are people going to see me as a fraud? So then you don't actually do the thing because you think that you're not worthy of doing it? Well, if so, welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the infamous imposter syndrome, especially for all of you who are trying to change your health and wellness this 2025. So if you are ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind. Look at us.
We're in the studio.
In the studio. Ho.
I know. It's so nice.
I know.
I just keep thinking like, oh, Mark.
I know.
Oh, Mark.
Mark figured this out today too.
Yeah.
I did make the logo part and then he figured out how to put it on because the logo was just in the form that they gave it to us.
Yeah. Where you're like, okay.
So we also have a new logo, guys, if you're on YouTube. So welcome.
Because Spotify, we have the video now.
Oh, and Spotify now. I was just listening to Mind Pump's 10-year episode.
I'm so behind on podcasts. I'm out.
Well, I'm not following them
okay.
In order.
What did you learn?
They made a lot of mistakes and, a year, I think they said about 6 months in, they went to a podcast studio.
Oh.
Yeah. Now they were new and noteworthy within the first couple weeks, 8 weeks. So I was like, no.
Yeah, but have you listened to their earlier episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're horrible.
Well,
not horrible, but
10 years ago. So new and noteworthy was like anyone that was.
Yeah, I don't even think I was listening. Well, what was 10 years ago? We're in 2025, 2015. I was hardly listening to podcasts at that time.
For the first 10 to 15 minutes of our episode, we banter about our lives, reality TV, and our health and fitness journeys. So if you are not interested in hearing that, please check out the show notes below to move on to the topic of the day.
There you go.
So tell me about Justin.
Oh, Baldini?
Okay, so
I was like, who's Justin?
Okay, guys.
That's probably the same thing that you got when
exactly.
I
Yes, okay, that's what I was talking about. So I'm sitting here working away on Friday, and I was like in it, and I get, fuck this Justin guy. And I was like, did we talk about it on the episode, or did we?
No, you and I have been talking about it.
Okay, so what we're talking about, guys, is this beef between Blake Lively and her director /
I don't even know,
owner of this production company, Justin Baldini, over the movie It Ends With Us.
Have you seen it, the movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
Have you?
Yes.
And
it was okay. It's fine if you're just sitting at home and feeding a baby.
I watched a clip where she's like, I have to get a divorce.
Yeah.
And then she says, like, if your daughter was dating, and I was like, valid.
Yeah. That part was good.
So I listened to the Vial Files, as you guys know, and there was an episode while they were on break, kind of breaking this down of like the legal jargon. And it basically just sounds like he violated a lot of boundaries, physical, sexual, emotional, time boundaries. I mean, every boundary that we teach our clients, this motherfucker was like,
that's it.
So, look at my
I'm going to be, so you sent me that podcast and I listened to it. I only got through like the first 20 minutes, I'll say. After they started reading the list, I was like, that's okay. I got the gist. Like, I don't need to go back and forth. And I was like, oh my God, you're a terrible person. And like, cause he would talk to her off script from when they were filming. And then like you said, he would invite his buddies into the filming, then wanted her to give birth naked,
and he said that was normal for every woman.
As someone who's given birth, I was not naked. I had the thingy on.
Yeah,
I mean, you're kind of naked, but not like still. Even to use that as like a reasoning, I was like, what the well, and then like, what kind of movie is this? Like,
right, it's not a porn.
Yeah, and it's like kind of I wouldn't say it's a feel good movie, but it's like a lighthearted feel good, minus the domestic violence and all that stuff. But it wasn't like a. You know how some movies you're like, damn, they're just murdering everybody. Like the whole film was about murder.
Yeah.
Then this film, it was like there wasn't any need to have any nudity or like sexual things.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like
it wasn't like, what was that movie, Wild Things, back in the day with Denise Richards?
Oh no, I was thinking. Remember that one, 13? Did you ever see that one?
I don't know.
With the two girls and like she makes friends with the one girl and they start like doing all these crazy things. And she gets her tongue pierced and they start having sex and drugs.
No, I haven't seen that one. Or Boogie Nights.
I haven't seen Boogie Nights.
We have a list of movies now that we are going to watch.
So yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, screw him. So
yeah. Well, and now people are like, well, it could have just been a misunderstanding. And so
that's not a very like, okay, hang on. one time, yes, sometimes there's a misunderstanding.
Mhm.
I'll give you that. But like for that list that she said,
Yeah.
that's not a misunderstanding.
Well, now they're saying that he has text messages that like counter what she said in
Well,
this
then
list and
release-
all of that. Yeah.
Release the tapes or what?
Release the tapes.
Yeah.
Tapes, timelines, receipts. That's
Yeah.
from Real Housewives.
Okay. It's like, speaking of Real Housewives, my mom came over, so we started watching.
Yes.
We watched episodes like 2 and 3 of Mom Talk or whatever they are.
Real Housewives. Oh, Real Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mormon Wives.
Yes.
It's really interesting because a lot of their drama, I would say, like, so Real Housewives, a lot of their drama, I'm like, well, just stop drinking alcohol. That'll probably solve like half of the problem.
Correct.
But for them, I'm like, just stop being friends.
Yeah.
Like, because they,
well, I don't even think they were friends. I think that they like
are business partners.
Correct.
But they're not
Yeah.
very good business partners.
No.
And so, because even they went on like some retreat and they're playing some game and they're like, Christina, who do you hate most in the group?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why the fuck would you ask that
No,
question?
it's all good TV,
yeah.
baby.
So I was like, all
It's all
right.
good TV.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Pillow movement.
I know.
Here we go. We can get comfy.
Click back.
It's our studio. We can do whatever the fuck we want. How was your New Year's?
It was great. I was in bed by 6 p.m.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
And then at my house the next day.
And then at your house the next
Yeah.
day.
So,
And then Michael came home and he was
on his best behavior.
Yeah.
He's not the same Michael. I'll tell you that.
He's not?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
He was very chill.
Well, he was going to do dry January, and so that lasted 2 days. So I think he was thinking he was going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was drinking the claws or whatever he
Yeah.
drinks.
The high noons.
The high noons or yeah.
Yeah.
So usually when he drinks theirs, he's very neutral. It's when he does the tequila, he's
gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
There's still
tags
on
I know,
our
I hit
stuff.
mine.
So welcome to our podcast studio, you guys. For those who don't know, this is brand spanking new. My husband made it all, did all of it.
Up back there. That's nice.
So what?
The like this felt board.
Oh yeah, this is
to help for the sound.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so is that.
Wow.
All of that. So we're excited to have you guys. We are, focusing this year on building our audience. So if you have not done it yet, please like, subscribe, follow us wherever you listen to this podcast, or if you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify. We love 5-star ratings and reviews. It's going to help us get out to more people. We want to celebrate with you our 10-year anniversary.
Oh.
Yeah. I think I'm going to send them a gift. What do you get a gift of Mind Pump?
Oh,
for
okay.
their 10 years.
Okay.
From us, from the company.
Okay.
But I'm like, what do you get? A bunch of dudes that I can like ship there.
Socks.
I'm not going to get them socks. I was just thinking a gift basket, but like,
oh, okay.
like some cheese and nuts, salami, thick stuff.
Let me think on that. Because I don't know. Let me think on that. I'll come up with something.
Okay.
I'll come up with something other than socks.
Well, as you can see, I'm an imposter gift giver because I don't believe in my ability to send gifts, and that's what you have to tell me. So that takes us into our episode today, talking about imposter syndrome. I thought this would be important because, people are going into their New Year's goals, their resolutions, everything. And, here at the Mindset of Matter, we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. And this, if I see myself as a fraud, which ultimately is what imposter syndrome is, then I'm not going to believe in my abilities, and my brain is only going to pick up on how I'm not achieving. And so I thought it was a good topic of conversation.
And I think it's great because right now a lot of people are going into like that new year, new me stuff. And then some of the standards that they set for themselves with the health and fitness will stick, but they won't believe that they're now that person.
Yep.
But even like for me going into parenthood, which sounds really weird to come out of my mouth, is like just knowing what to do with it as a parent is really challenging when you haven't had a kid before.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, you just try stuff, but if it doesn't work, you like feel like you set back. And so then it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing then. And it's like, well, every parent has gone through like trial and error. You just are now doing it yourself.
Well, parental challenges, even with me, it's funny socially. So imposter syndrome can affect you in all these areas.
Yeah.
Being a parent, in your professional life, in your personal life. And I remember, so when I met Mark, I was not someone who had like designer clothes. Like I wasn't Like I dressed really
Is that a
well.
him thing?
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
plot twist.
Plot twist. I didn't know in Lululemon because I thought it was too expensive. And
my, how Christina Jimenez has come up on
yeah.
on the blog.
Jenny from the blog, seriously. And I remember his girlfriend, like, because he had all the girls from the guy group. All the wives.
Okay. I was like,
had like BMWs and like Mercedes.
Oh yeah, that would make me feel like
I felt like I was like
the poor girl.
Yes, I was like the maid in Manhattan. So obviously, I've evolved since then. But socially, this is so funny. I think back when I was on the ASU hip hop squad. This is a dance team at ASU, and like some of the girls dressed so much cooler than me, and I tried so hard. And I dressed fine.
Yeah.
But like in my mind,
it wasn't good
like,
enough.
Yeah. I was an imposter, even though I was a fucking badass. That was one thing I was. You couldn't take that from me. And professionally, when I was at my leanest, I talked about this on the webinar. I feared losing that because I feared losing some sort of false authority. That I put on being that lean. And I'm sure you can relate to that.
Well, that's like that podcast I sent you where she was talking about that trainers have this expectation of themselves. Like, I can't be a trainer unless I look this certain way because my body is essentially the resume.
Yeah.
To attract clients and whatnot. And I felt that myself too. And then I realized like, okay, for me, I had to think like, who's my population that I'm going towards?
That's so much easier.
Yes. And then
so
I was
much more
like,
relatable.
Yes. And I was like, oh, my population just wants to figure it out. They're not even trying to, they'd be like, that would be nice, but that's not going to happen.
Right. I mean, could we help you do that? Sure. Yeah. But most of our clients are, busy professionals, very successful individuals, and they don't have time to do that. I'll say now, and what we've created, I feel relatable to my clients. And as I talked about in one of our other episodes, even trying to continue to be that person that I want to serve. Yeah. Right. So in my areas of my life that are my challenges or downfalls, I am trying to improve those because I want to be even more
like fill in the
relatable.
gaps. Yeah.
Right. From also health and wellness, though, not just for our professionals who work in the industry, but when we're trying to change our exercise routine or we're trying to lose weight, or maybe we have lost weight, we need to recognize if we have this kind of, I'm a fraud, people are going to see my fraud. That's one of the biggest things. This is actually an issue with attachment, that people are going to see you as a fraud. It
circles back to attachment.
It all circles back, baby. And so we create these behaviors in an effort to not have our authentic part of ourselves seen.
Explain that a little bit more.
So say that, so authentically, we are imperfect. That's authentic. That is an innate, I mean, look at your daughter. Yeah. Imperfect. She drop stuff, but you think she's perfectly, she spits up. It's imperfect.
Okay, cute.
Yeah, so cute. Until that's taken away from her, until she learns that that authentic part of her imperfection is wrong. Okay. Hopefully it's not. And how would we do that? She spills milk, she gets yelled at. Okay. That's an imperfection, right? Can we teach her how to hold the glass better? Can we give her when she's older, sippy cup? Can we say, okay, let's get a paper towel and clean it up. And then if she does again, she cleans it up, whatever. Yes. Then she's learning, like, so you can be imperfect and we can improve. Okay. But once that's taken away from her, she is then, I'm just going to, this is hypothetically speaking, learn to figure out how to maintain her perfection.
Does that need
It's fine. No. Okay. She's going to learn how to look perfect. Okay. And so whatever that behavior is, whether it's, say it's her appearance, she's going to try to look like skinny, thin, whatever the ideal is at the time, or it's in her grades. Okay. So these are behaviors that she is going to learn in an effort for people to not see her imperfection, because imperfection meant maybe not feeling loved, being shamed. Because I spilled the milk and it was a complete accident. Golly. It has nothing to do with my character. What? It's like, she's like, fuck, I'm this kid.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
and unfortunate.
Let's bring it back to what I was talking about, is that if we have this idea that we have to like be and look and act a certain way. And if we don't, people are going to see us as a fraud in our weight loss. It's something people don't say that directly, you guys. They say it as if like, well, you know, see. I got a compliment from my friend the other day, and my brain goes into, oh, you're gonna let them down because you gained weight back. Like, the fuck? Let them feel act. If they actually are let down because you gained weight, then they have a really big problem.
The problem is with them, not with you.
Correct. But it's that concept of like, well, they're going to see me gain it back again, and they're going to think I'm a failure.
That's your own inner critic coming
Correct.
out. Yeah. So that's where I think with the imposter stuff, going back to the method and our program, is that inner critic. So the inner critic is the voice that we hear when we're hearing the negative thoughts about ourselves, right? Essentially. But the imposter syndrome is just that inner critic talking. And so when we choose to listen to that, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. Like, I'm not going to, like, I've had clients not try for a job because they felt like they would not get it anyways. And I'm like, well, how do you know? Who told you no?
Right.
Like, you haven't even applied. Like, the resume didn't even say you didn't save this correctly.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it happens in so many different ways. And it's really hard because that mindset piece is always there. And until you can really identify that, or either just take the leap forward and ignore it, or really sit with it and work through it, then we're kind of stuck in continuing to be an imposter.
No. Absolutely. It's, our motto is what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror, and if you see yourself as a fraud, your brain is only going to pay attention to how you're a fraud. Right. And you, in that situation, you're going to take it a step further and be like, oh, I'm such a dumbass. Why didn't I apply for the job? Right. And it's just exacerbating this kind of like less thanness.
Yes.
So how imposter syndrome affects the mindset. So we kind of already touched on that. So leading to that inner critic voice, that negative self-talk. I wanted to take that a smidge further. So as you guys know, or maybe don't, our ego is our protector of our wounded self. Okay. So going back to my example, so the wounded part of myself is I will not receive love if I'm not perfect. Okay. So then the ego's job is to protect that. Now, protection to some people might sound like safety. It's not. It's to keep that narrative going because it's easier for me to tell myself that if I'm not perfect, then I'm an imposter. Than for someone else to, again, witness myself as a fraud. Okay. So the inner critic, the ego, I want you guys to think of it kind of as this protecting this identity that was created, again, at a very early age. What is this trying to protect me from? What part of seeing myself is this trying to keep me from? I can't put this into words.
So what I'm hearing is that basically you've got this, I would say, a seed that spurts in childhood. And that seed is collecting information and developing a personality with that.
And a narrative.
And then the ego comes in to protect that story that you've created. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Good job.
Thank you.
I don't know why I couldn't put it together.
Well, sometimes you need a non-therapist.
Yes, exactly. And so, I want you to almost imagine it in that way of this kind of like little person in you that is looking up to just be seen and heard and accepted and proud of where they're at, instead of, no, you can't. You're not enough. You're an imposter. And when you can actually visualize that, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. So that goes into how do we kind of recreate that seed, we'll say.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the things is reframing.
Yeah.
So, and it's really hard because we have to, one, bring awareness to it, but two, then we've got to actually work through it. And we've, probably on each episode, we have some aspect of where we talk about the reframe process.
Right.
And how important it is to really kind of cultivate a better self and a better self-worth, I would say. And so going into imposter syndrome. So why is it that you don't deserve that job? Why is it that you would fail at that job? And actually walking through those fears.
Yep.
And then, so when I can say those fears out loud, I can then create a new narrative about those fears in myself.
Yeah.
But if I ignore them, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, and if you ignore them, you're just kind of on autopilot, right? And we're not changing anything. I would take this. I want to swap this real quick. I want people to start looking at whenever they have tension or fear or anything in their bodies. I heard the other day, if I have tension, it needs attention.
Oh,
yeah,
catchy.
I know.
You know, I like
catchy shit. I did it. So if I'm feeling that like anxiety, I get tension in my chest. That's probably the place I feel it the most. And or if I'm engaging in a behavior that feels like this narrative, right?
Okay.
I want you guys, as I've said, this is my line, like instead of getting critical, why don't we get curious? We have to, get curious. I wonder why I'm feeling this way. I wonder why I want to give up. I wonder why I didn't press send on the resume.
Yeah.
Because when we can start getting curious and treating ourselves with that curiosity, which ultimately creates compassion, then we can use our reframe, right? And, I think that's a step that we haven't talked a lot about is just kind of this, what is considered compassionate inquiry.
Oh.
Yes, there's an actual method. It's something that I'm working on for my continuing education.
Okay.
And it's ultimately what I do for my clients when I look at them and I say, I wonder why she does that.
Oh.
And then I go, do, and I put all the pieces together real quick. And then I'm like, so tell me about how you were told that you couldn't be a failure or you could fail in childhood and then cries. And being able to do that for yourself and get curious.
Okay.
Then doing the reframe of, why am I thinking this?
Yeah.
What is this trying to protect in myself? Right. Or what is, as I always say, focus on the facts.
Yeah.
Instead of the feelings, the fantasy, or the fears.
Right.
Because sometimes the feelings themselves are connected to the narrative.
Yes.
Right.
Well, the feelings
that's a hard thing
grow the narrative. And
so
if we go back to the seed, we're thinking of all these little branches that emerge, and those branches come from the stories that are or like the information that we intake throughout our years. And so what we're trying to do is come back as an adult, hopefully, and cut down those branches. And then when we cut them down, a new one grows out.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's where that compassion comes in too. It ultimately will help get in front of the other emotions that we normally feel, which is like the shame and the guilt. And so then starting to create a new narrative, as you're saying. One thing that's easy to do there is affirmations.
Yeah.
I love affirmations. I actually did a meditation this morning. That was an affirmation on my 21-day challenge. Doing my meditation challenge.
Oh.
Or my manifesting challenge.
Someone else is doing that too.
No, I told you I was doing that.
No, I know. Someone else told me about that recently.
Gabby
too.
Bernstein.
I don't even know who that is.
That's the lady doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's funny because one of her affirmations is only good things happen to me, which is mine. I use all the time. I use it all the time. A new one I have, I said, I believe in faith over fear, especially when I'm in a car.
Oh. We need to work on that.
Especially when I'm in a car. Well, that's worked. I'm like, I read something the other day. Is like, you can believe in faith or you can believe in fear. Either one is something that's not happened yet that you have to believe in. And I'm like, oh, that's good.
Okay.
But other affirmations, like, I am just as, I am equal to everyone else applying for this position. I am taking steps day by day to become a healthy version of myself. One of our listeners, Kristen, she did our winter wellness challenge and provided feedback. And it really helped her understand, like, day by day, I can make these choices, and make these small changes. And that's huge. And that is proof.
That's interesting that she says that, because I was talking to one of my girlfriends the other day about breastfeeding, and she was like, I woke up every day choosing to breastfeed. Like it was a day by day thing. And I thought feed by feed, like, because it's just a long process and there's a lot more to it than just like, here's my boob, here's the baby.
I'm sure.
And so she was like, I just thought like, okay, this is my last feed. This is my last feed. And then I'd be done with that feed and I go, no, the next feed I will decide. And so so it's like taking it in segments as opposed to like a weight loss, right? So I want to lose 52 pounds. Okay, well, 52 weeks. It's like, well, why don't we just take it day by day by day, plan ahead for the days coming.
Yep.
And then we can structure it. But similar to you, or contrary to you, so I don't like affirmations. Yeah, I don't. Like, I'm like,
that's okay.
But I like the gratitude.
Yes.
And so we can say the gratitude part of the imposter syndrome. So if I feel like an imposter, but maybe we did take that leap and we did hit save and submit on the resume.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I'm so grateful that I had the courage to do that at that moment.
Yes.
You know, and it has nothing to do whether I got the job or not.
Right.
It's all with, I did the one step.
I did a hard thing.
Yeah.
You know, I push past discomfort.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
I heard another thing the other day. It's like discomfort is, we cannot get discomfort and pain confused. Discomfort is pressing send on a job that you may not be, you may not get. Pain is getting shot in the foot.
Oh,
those are two different things.
It's pretty aggressive.
Well, that was the example.
Okay.
It was Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, wow.
So the thing about gratitude as well is that, again, true confidence comes in doing the hard thing. In our minds, when we're setting up unrealistic expectations, the hard thing is this end goal.
Yeah.
But when we have realistic expectations, the hard thing is, like you said, waking up every day, choosing to put on your shoes and going out for a walk. You know, waking up every morning or before you go to sleep, prepping your meal or putting it in MyFitnessPal. That's the hard thing, because that's the thing ultimately that's going to lead up to where you want to be.
Yeah.
So it's the process, because my company isn't just successful. The reason why the company is successful is the process of every day. The fact that we, have calls with clients, we check in with them, we are there if they need us, the behind the scenes, right? And that makes us successful. That makes me feel confident in what we do. It makes me feel, proud of what we do. And that's true for your health and wellness journey, right? If you can have that gratitude of the everyday, you're building confidence, you're building success.
Right.
And if I'm building confidence and success, does that make me a fraud? No. It's the exact opposite.
No. I want to talk about the nutrition part of it.
Okay.
With the gut-brain connection as well.
I love that.
So you can speak more on the gut-brain stuff because that's more of your repertoire.
Yep.
But so sometimes too, so going back to like the day-to-day of tracking calories ahead of time and whatnot, the nutrition plays a role in supporting how your mental health is as well. So for example, if I'm continually having processed foods, it's going to make me feel lethargic and heavy. Maybe I'm not going to have that motivation to click save and submit or something like that. But if I'm feeding myself with nutritious foods, that outcome might be different mentally.
Right. Sorry.
What we do see though, so when we're feeling of imposter syndrome, so going back to like even us of our leanness is an over restriction.
Yes.
Right. So I have to stay in this over restriction because of this image that I portray that I think people are attracted to.
Well, and the leanness was the actual imposter.
Yes. It was. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like for me, it was more of like the gym, the CrossFit stuff was the imposter. Like that was like an ego showing up to protect me. And then my ego became inflated when I was there as well, when it was really not listening to myself.
Yeah.
And why would I do that? And so I felt for nutrition wise, again, that over restriction just to stay within that persona instead of challenging myself and being like, maybe this actually isn't working for me.
Right.
And going in towards a more sustainable lifestyle, which eventually came around too.
No. And in regards to, if we're thinking that, okay, I'm going to be that person. I see this all the time. Like people somehow think that being in a calorie deficit is like, number one, starving. Number two, 12 or 1,500 calories. Number three, it's chicken, rice, and broccoli every day. And they set this like rigid, like perfect, almost like orthorexic style of eating.
Hello.
Yeah. And so that, again, is unrealistic.
Yeah.
It's not imposter. Okay. Instead of asking if I'm an imposter, ask if it's realistic. Like, if we just all did that, I think a lot of this shit would go away, right? Because when we are unrealistic, that leads to emotional eating. That leads to this kind of black and white. Foods are good, foods are bad. And that then creates more guilt or shame, which only exacerbates the narrative, okay? So remember, beliefs create behaviors. Behaviors create outcomes. Outcomes create feelings. Feelings come back and create behaviors. So interestingly, when we're in this kind of I'm not good enough. We are not in our social engagement part of our nervous system. We are not grounded. We are not connected. We are not in this loving state. We are in that stressed, we want to fight, we want to flight, or we want to freeze state, right? And so stress in the body, we've talked about many times, can cause havoc on the body itself, but it can be linked to this kind of, obviously there's a link. The way I think creates my nervous system. My nervous system then, I want you to think about it this way. Your nervous system, your digestive system, your endocrine system, and your immune system are one system. They all affect each other. Okay. And so if I am, again, not feeding myself right, right? I am stressed the fuck out. I am trying to push these limits that are unrealistic, right? Which is going to fuck everything up. I'm putting my body in this state of disconnection, right? And
dysregulation.
Absolutely. Dysregulation. So a few things obviously we can do, and we're focusing right now on nutrition. And it's funny that you put this in the notes because I was reading yesterday on natural ways to boost your dopamine.
Oh.
So one thing that, dopamine is what people ultimately want when they want to feel successful or they want to feel reward, right? And I've been doing a lot of research on this that, our dopamine receptors are actually formed in utero, depending on how stressed our parent is.
Damn it.
And the connection to our parent in the environment. So it's not chicken or the egg thing. This whole thing that I'm studying is like the concept I've worked from my entire career of like genetics is the bullet and the environment is the trigger. And so I was reading on how to, naturally boost your own dopamine, and your food is so important in that, not just because like there's, obviously the energy part of it of, like you said, like being able to like have the mental capacity to sit there, press, click and send the resume. But then also there's like these hormonal pathways that our food literally helps create in our body. Right. So I was talking to Mark about this. I was looking at something else, like how to regenerate certain tissues in the body. And I'm not shitting you guys. And I know it sounds like we're, getting paid by the Mediterranean diet, but everything I read was increase your tyosine, which is an amino acid that we get in our animal proteins.
Yeah.
Increase your omega-3s. Eat your fucking colors.
Yeah.
Turmeric was a big one in there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which anti-inflammatory diet, right? Mediterranean anti-inflammatory diet. And your nuts, your seeds, your avocados, your omega-3s. It was there for how to increase your dopamine naturally. It was there for how to, rejuvenate these specific tissues. And on top of that, these are providing the mental clarity, right? There's a lot of research around your, Mediterranean anti-inflammatory diet and mental clarity. It's going to help with energy levels. It's going to help with producing, with your overall hormonal panels, which is you have to remember hormones. When people hear hormones, they think estrogen, testosterone,
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of them, and, finding that balance in your body. When we eat the junk foods, the fast foods, we actually fuck with our dopamine receptors in our bodies. So we feel sluggish. We feel down. We don't feel as good. The other natural way to do this is sunshine. But your diet, and I'm not here to pretend like I'm an expert on mind gut health. Yeah. Like that's not Liz. Necessarily, it's Liz. It's not necessarily what I study, but like as I continue to study like dopamine and how it affects us okay, so just so you guys know, the whole reason I'm starting to learn this is because of my diagnosis of ADHD.
Oh.
This Gabor Mate, which I've talked about before, he talks about how kids with ADHD tend to not have as many dopamine receptors in their bodies.
But they're looking for it.
Yeah. And that's why I have a very addictive personality.
There's somebody else in my life that would really benefit from this conversation.
Yes.
Or this segment. Well, so, okay, let's go into tips on how to kind of increase the confidence through the nutrition, which sounds wild, but I would say give it a try.
Yeah.
Because even like choosing, let's put it this way, choosing the more nutrient dense food will give you that confidence and will help you feel less like an imposter syndrome as that becomes more of a habit than a behavior, or as a part of your behavior that becomes a habit.
And doing it, yeah, like you're saying, like doing it in a way that makes sense for you.
Yes.
Right. If you're going to feel really confident by having a, color at one meal for the month.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For someone else. And that's something I want you guys to stop fucking comparing yourself to other people. Just because something worked for some other person doesn't mean shit. I just had this conversation with a client today and I'm like, well, do you know the background of this person's information? Stop doing that. So if for you, 30 days of one plate with vegetables or fruit on it, if that works for you, great. That's going to build your confidence.
Yeah. And avoiding like the crash dieting too, because that's going to be your mood swings. That's going to be like why did I do this? And no, I can't do this. And then feeling like an imposter of, I told all my friends I was going to do this too.
Well, and something I didn't mention when I'm talking about like this kind of gut health, all the axes, your brain needs a certain amount of energy to keep up your emotional boundaries. That's why when we're like
hungry,
tired, lonely, sick, that's not a time to we need to take care of ourselves. And so if you are trying to build confidence and have motivation, you at minimum need some fucking energy.
Right.
And that comes from your food. Yep. And again, like we talked about, celebrating those small wins. Celebrate those wins every day. You may not be a chicken and rice and broccoli girl. I am not. She is. I would rather have I have all of these meals I've created that are friggin' delicious. I love them. And they are a little bit more, I don't know, like they're pastas.
Yeah, they're more variety. Whereas mine tends to be like a potato, a veggie, a potato is a veggie.
Yeah.
A starch, a color, and a meat.
Yeah.
And then I add avocado, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah. See, I eat that sometimes, but you find, how about this? Instead of trying to fit a mold, you find what works for you, and not just what works for you, because obviously what works for you now we can build on, but we also do an ideal self reflection in one of our first reflections to do in the method, and just thinking about who is it that I want to be, and what are the steps I can take every day to become that person. And that identity of whoever that person is whatever the fuck you want it to be. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't even listen to us.
They should listen to us. Hang on.
Yeah.
One thing that I find with women, and so going into exercise, is that they feel like an imposter going into the gym. They're fearful of one, either going, or two, they stay within their comfort zone instead of using the weights. And usually the comfort zone for women tends to be like the treadmill, the elliptical, the stair stepper. And so I find that imposter syndrome, so it affects professional nutrition choices, but now exercise choices. And they make these
parent
goals,
choices, social choices.
Yes. And so they make these goals of okay, I want to go to the gym every day. And it's like, well, that's great, but what are we doing at the gym that's maximizing your time and efficiency for what you want?
Yeah.
But that fear is holding them back of going, because they'll go to the weights and they're like, well, I don't know what to do.
Right.
And it's like, you don't have to know what to do. Nobody really probably at the gym knows what they're doing.
Right. So, no, I agree with you. I was thinking about this earlier today because I was doing my strength training, and, I'll be 42 at the end of this month. And my friends are my age and they're just doing all the wrong shit. And then they're like, I don't understand why my clothes don't fit, because you're doing all the wrong shit.
Right.
And I get that. I get the feeling of you didn't know how to ride a bike. You didn't know how to write in cursive. You didn't know how to use a phone. You didn't know how to use a laptop. You figured it out. But people think, so this brings into another theory of spotlight syndrome, where you think that the spotlight's on you.
Yeah.
And spotlight syndrome is a true thing, where we think that everyone in the gym knows that we're the new person there.
Yeah.
And maybe
I
was, there's a woman at my gym, and she's either coming out of time off, or maybe she's new. And I say hi to her every day because we just had an exchange on the hack squat,
Yeah.
right? And I say hi to her every day because I want her to feel
welcome,
right? I know she's probably new, or like I said, coming back from something. So the other thing about it is my girl, Kelsey, she had never worked out at a gym before. She did all the Orange Theories, the this and that. And we started with her doing at home so that she could, kind of work through the kinks. And she was like, no, I want to go to the gym. And she asked whomever to help her.
Oh, did she?
And now she's the one that posted that video. I just posted it yesterday of her hotel gym.
Oh, that was nice.
I know. I was like, dang.
I know.
I forget where they're at.
Which
she's in
hotels
Florida.
did she go?
Yeah, she's in Florida.
She needs to make a list of hotel gyms.
Yeah, there's this website for that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because I search it for our clients.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And now she's got friends because she always goes at the same time. If it's a new piece of equipment that I've introduced, she'll just ask somebody. People, and we've said this before, when you go to your favorite restaurant, right? You're there because you love the food.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you're in a bigger body, whether you're new to town, whether you're, whatever, new to this particular type of food, you're all there. Everyone's there because they love this particular type of food. And if someone has a dish that looks really good, you'd be like, hey, what is that? Like, we would easily look over and be like, oh.
Or ask the server who's also the trainer.
Correct. Yes. And the gym is the same.
Yeah.
Wait, it is the most inclusive place, especially when just look up. Look at people in their eye. The person who gives you a smile, or this one lady, I swear she knows every fucking person in that gym, and she knows me too. And we talked about boobs. I think I told you. Yeah. So what we're trying to say is again, you've got to push past. If you're learning one thing today, is push past the discomfort.
Yeah.
Right. Go try. Use an app like our app. Get a trainer. Get a coach. With our app and our training. Full-blown instructional video, ability to send your form videos to us and get, within 24 hours a response of what you need to do.
Well, I was going to go back to Kelsey. I'm sure after she has done that, like gone to the gym and now goes to these other gyms when she travels, she probably feels a lot more confident.
Oh, yeah.
And so that imposter syndrome has gone down. It's gone because she continued to do those day by day, step by step things instead of like looking at all the, like I would never go to a hotel gym. It's like, well, we're not asking you to. We're just asking you to work out at home in the comfort of your home.
Right.
And starting there.
Yep.
And so, and push past that discomfort of like doing it in my home and feeling silly that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Well, no one cares because you're alone in your home probably.
Right. I was dancing in the gym today. The other thing though, going back to my discussion about like how we feed ourselves, exercise is another way to boost dopamine, which creates that reward center in our brain.
What did she say in Legally Blonde?
Exercise gives you endorphins. Yeah. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people don't just shoot their husbands.
Yes. They don't. That's a cute movie.
I made Mark watch that the other day. And I think it was like halfway through. And of course, I'm quoting the whole thing.
Like, okay.
It was like, great. And so we've mentioned this before. Exercise is one of the coolest ways you can create confidence in yourself, because there's this, physiological response of these endorphins and this kind of reward center in your brain lighting up. We have a physical response of literally putting ourselves through discomfort and getting through it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Getting through the discomfort.
That'll make you feel empowered.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Then we get, either stronger and or more confident in the gym. We get, our body obviously feels differently. It doesn't mean, and I want to talk about this here in a sec, doesn't mean that we're going to shred, and look all crazy. But it's such a wonderful activity that is a metaphor to kind of how we want everyone to look at what it is to create these new identities in themselves.
Well, and share those identities too. So I've got an example of that. My doula, coincidentally, from what I understand, I think she goes to the gym with her boyfriend. And so she had texted me a couple of weeks ago and she's like, I've got to share this with you because none of my friends work lift. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I went to the gym by myself.
Yay!
And she's like, and I did a leg day. And I was like, great. That's awesome. And she's like, I know, I'm really proud of myself.
That's awesome.
And so she's taking that and sharing it with somebody that would provide that reinforcement of like, yeah, that's great that you did that. You should feel super proud.
Yes. We love that. Well, and what I wanted to say is, with the imposter syndrome around the gym, just like we talked about with nutrition, is we've really got to set realistic expectations. And one of the biggest ones is that, oh, I'm going to go to the gym for a month and then my body's going to miraculously change. That's not going to happen. And again, exercise doesn't elicit fat loss. Could your body change? And could your body change? Actually, I take back what I said. Yes, you're going to have more energy, right? You're going to feel stronger. You are maybe even going to sleep better, right? Your libido might go up, depending on, this all depends too on how much you're feeding yourself. So they both go hand in hand, because my hormones go up. I have more energy when I feed myself. You know, exercise helps with that too. But one of the kind of the behaviors that feeds into imposter syndrome is this kind of unrealistic, like, I'm going to go to the gym and, you know, be snatched in 2 weeks. Yeah. That's not going to happen.
Well, and then don't do that to yourself. Down, and then there's your sense of failure, and then there's an example of how I am a failure, and then that branch grows further. Oh yeah. Or looking on social media and comparing yourself. Like, that's the thing.
Everybody is different.
Yes. And that's like, for me, postpartum, that's challenging because you'll see. So like, for example, let's take that Tia Claire Toomey or whatever. I don't know how far postpartum she was when she went to the games this year, but she had just had the baby. I mean, I'll say it was within a year. Correct. And she was just built again. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. But I'm thinking she probably, I don't know any of this, but I'm going to assume she probably didn't breastfeed. They probably just went straight to formula because if that way she didn't have to wake up throughout the night, like someone else could feed baby. They also probably are pretty well to do. So they had a lot of assistance.
Very well to do.
So and the nutrition, like someone's prepping it for her. Someone might be taking care of the baby at night. So she is getting optimal sleep. So she is getting optimal recovery. Yeah. And so I'm like thinking of like, that's all the stuff you're not seeing. Like, so and also she's a CrossFit Games athlete. So again, the comparison is apples to a tree. Right.
An actual tree.
Yeah. But it's still that like, like if I could just do that, And it's like, well, a lot of like those assumptions that I have of what she did to regain her strength and get back at that place that she was, I'm not willing to give up. Like, I'm not willing to give up the breastfeeding and go to formula so I can sleep more throughout the night. I'm not willing, because even if I do give up breastfeeding, but I still want her to have like breast milk, I still have to pump and wake up in the middle of the night. Right. So it's all that. And like, I'm not having someone prepare my meals every day. I'm still trying to do that and keep up. So it's trying to think a comparison and getting realistic with it of what it actually looks like.
Usually you think of that, I'm like, that's true, because she would have been like leaking.
Yeah. That's what I'm like, there's how could you have, and again, I'm assuming, but now that I
couldn't be in the games,
she would have to time it.
I mean, pump, but she'd have to pump.
Yeah, she'd have to pump and time it pretty appropriately.
Interesting.
I know. Thought of that. And you also have to think too, it changes your hormones. Like, so for sometimes you don't get your period for, you just don't know. Your period's going to pop up at some point. So, I mean, I'm sure her hormone, like her cycle is pretty well regulated because of what she does. But what if you got it then? Yeah. So you probably, and like just the relaxing and all of that. Whew. I know. That's crazy. Just think about that when you're seeing these trainers on there ripped as fuck 1 month postpartum.
Yeah. That, or, I was following this 42-year-old or 45-year-old trainer, and she looks great. Yeah. And she promotes a lot of the stuff that we do. But I'm like, maybe I could look like that when I'm 45, but maybe I don't. I don't know. Yeah. So I won't look like her. She has much longer legs than me.
Well, that's the other thing too, because we'll see this a lot with the Facebook group is they'll post a picture of somebody from social media and go, how do I get this body? And I'm like, that body doesn't even match with the body you have on the outline. Like, she is tall and lean.
Yeah,
and
you
long.
can get on stilts and So don't compare. So, all right, things we want to do. I already talked about, just kind of recapping. Start small. Yep. Right. Focus on consistency over intensity and celebrate all of those small milestones. I promise you, if you do this, it's like my 5 pages a day of reading. I only did 3 last night and I was like, I'm tired, but I did 3.
Hey,
I did 3. And plus Mark
do you do 7 tonight to make up for it?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Mark was listening to something really loud and I'm like, reading. I'm like, bro. And then it was something I wanted to look at. So then I kept reading the same page over and over again. I'm like, God damn it, Mark. Yeah. So I gotta read when he's in the shower.
That'll solve your problem.
Yeah, seriously. So my goal is 5 a day. I did 3 last night. Am I gonna make up for it today? No. I'm just gonna keep going with opening a book and reading a page. And eventually I'll read the whole book.
Yeah.
Yay. So start small, focus on the victories.
Yeah.
What else?
Don't compare.
Yep.
And then we also have to think of ways that we can incorporate kind of the reflection. So we talked about gratitude, affirmations, journaling is a great one. I don't have anything else there.
I would have a practice of like, what are you proud of at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And whatever it is you guys are trying to change, whether it's your career, whether it's parenting, whatever that looks like, what am I proud of today? And as we talked about, like every challenge, like you talked about, like trying things with the baby and seeing what works, what doesn't, like,
oh my gosh,
it's an opportunity to learn. So what did I learn today? What did I learn about myself today?
Yeah.
Right. Not what did I learn about that influencer on TV or on social media? What did I learn about myself? Yeah.
You dated yourself.
I know. I mean, there are influencers on TV, reality TV. What did I learn about myself? What am I proud of in myself? You know, what is an opportunity that I can work on tomorrow?
Yeah.
Boom.
And then your imposter syndrome is magically gone.
Just magic.
Kidding. Yeah.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Focus
it shows up in another way.
Focus on the facts instead of fears, fantasies, or feelings. Prep one food at a time, you know?
Yeah.
Add the one green.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I ask clients is usually the first thing is like, what color could you add?
What color? I love that. What color can you add? You know, are we getting enough protein? You know, is that something we can look at? And then again, set realistic goals for yourself when it comes to movement, whether that's starting with walking. If you're someone who's been sedentary, please start with walking.
I agree. Yeah.
Body weight workouts, moving into bands, then going into like dumbbells.
Yep.
And you can get, you know, it's all progression, and celebrating each one of those steps is going to make you feel accomplished.
Well, and also, I think also recruiting support. We didn't really talk about that too much. We would touch on it. So like Kelsey has you as a coach for support. Megan, the doula, had contacted me for support.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important that you're finding and cultivating other people that have a little bit more longevity on you, or a little bit more mileage, so they can reflect and be like, oh, that's great. And if you have questions like, hey, how did you handle fear of going to the gym? And you could say, oh, honestly, I didn't, but here's my experience from working with clients.
Right.
Or, hey, how did you overcome like this restrictive eating? Oh, well, I got over that fear that I was going to die if I had a cookie.
Right.
But how did I do that? So there's always somebody there that can help kind of pull you in the direction, and where you have to push yourself and, like you said, take the leap, but someone else needs to be there to pull so that you can see like it is possible to have a little bit more freedom or have more confidence or whatever it is we're looking for.
When I would change my career, I went into a career that I had zero experience in. I was getting paid a ton of money to do it, and I didn't want to lose it. Yep. And so I became friends with the best salespeople in the company. And I talked to them at least once a week. All of them, and learned from them, because they were like, oh my God, you know, do try this. Or if this is like an objection, try this. And I was President's Club within a year of being at that company. Now, just for my own, I would have probably gotten it the first year, but the way that the structure of the years was, I couldn't get it.
Damn.
So, I know, it's fine. I got it when I got it, when I could get it, because I elicited help and support. So I agree with that 1000%. And here's the thing. Again, we want to just catch and reframe. We want to create behaviors, because remember, beliefs are what this all starts from. We start with a narrative. So that's our belief that we can't, we're a fraud, We cultivate curiosity and compassion. We reframe it, then create behaviors out of that reframe. Right? I am someone who can be healthy and strong. What is small steps you can do? We talked about all those small steps, gave you examples there. Then from there, we are going to have better outcomes. We're going to feel more confident. We're going to have gratitude. It's going to put us in a high vibe situation where we're just thriving. We're feeling good. Life is great. That is going to increase our joy, our excitement, our passion, our whatever, which ultimately is going to create and strengthen the new narrative. That's how it works.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Boom, bang, bing. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget, like, subscribe, follow us wherever you listen to our podcast. If you like us really a lot, we'd love for you to give us a 5-star rating and review. That will get us out to more individuals. It's pretty cool to hear people. I've had 2 people reach out and be like, oh my God, I've been listening to your podcast, even like old clients.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and even male clients.
Oh, nice.
Yes, we are getting into
males.
Yes, we're getting into the males, working with men who are willing to admit that they have their own disordered eating patterns and mindset. So welcome, bros. If you want to give us a follow on Instagram at Mindset and Matter Coaching or fitbyamanda.az. You can find us on YouTube at the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. That links to all of our YouTube pages. And if you did not figure out, which is the basis of imposter syndrome, we want you to remember this one last thing.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror.
Bye.
Bye.